Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Josh Snipes, and if you're just checking out the channel, I do all sorts of map guides, operator guides, tips and tricks, and videos like this. Make sure to stay tuned by hitting that subscribe button, hit the notification button if that's something you're interested in. But just to introduce today's topic, today we're going to be going over all the attachments for the guns, what they do, what they are, and then what are the ideal loadouts for 3 of the attacking operators and 3 of the defending operators. I will list all the rest of the operators in the comments down below, as well as the timestamp. So if that's something you're interested in, make sure to go look down there. That's exactly where they will be. And I don't want to make this video 20,000 minutes long, so that's why I'm just deciding on 3 operators and three attackers and 3 defenders. I'm just going to do a top 3 from Pro League from each section, so don't be too worried about that. Now, to get on with the video, we're going to be taking a look over at the sites first. Now, to take a look at the first site is going to be the holographic. This is probably going to be one of the only sites that you're going to be using if you're not using an ACOG. Now, the thing is the Russian sites, and I believe Mozzie's and Gridlock sites are a little bit different, but they're not so much different, and I'll show it here just to make sure you guys understand the difference between all the different sites. But overall, the biggest thing to me is that the holographic has so many benefits that I think outweigh really going on to the other sites besides the ACOG. Now, when you're taking a look at the reflex site, the reflex has this big triangle. Now, the housing is smaller, but the big triangle makes it so that you can't really peek corners. If you're trying to hold a pixel peek with the holographic, you'll be able to see when someone moves their head out, when they try to peek you, or any sort of movement that you might see in that tiny little sliver in between the both doorways or both the corners that you're aiming at. When you're using the reflex, you're probably not going to see that, and you're probably not going to be able to shoot very well at the very least because it's such a tiny angle that's so hard to hold. Now, taking a look at the red dot site, the housing just doesn't allow you to really see everything. Now, most of these assumptions are made in the fact that I'm using 16:9. I am using 90 FOV. I know my console people out there, you're not able to use 90 FOV, but this is just something that I haven't changed my aspect ratio or anything like that. These are what I've seen in the game. Now, to go on with the red dot site, really, the housing, it's very lacking. It's kind of bulky still. I know that they've tried adjusting it over season after season. Also, the biggest thing for me, the red dot is just too big. If they had the red dot site with the size of the dot that's in the middle of the holographic, we might be talking about a different priority set. But right now, the way the red dot is, the longer range you take a battle, and right now the average for a gunfight is about 10 meters. Even at 10 meters or longer than that, you really can't, you start to miss heads, especially when people sort of pixel peek you or just sort of poke their head out. You're probably going to miss it because the thing is, my understanding is that the middle of the red dot site is where the bullet lands, which makes sense when you're up close because you don't really worry about that. But when you're so far away, the red dot ends up covering heads, especially when someone just sort of peeks their head out, you might not see it. So overall, my biggest thing I can give to you, when given the opportunity, either use the holographic or the ACOG. I'm going to let you decide what you're comfortable with. Not everyone likes to run the ACOG, and especially if you can change your aspect ratio as well as your FOV, you might want to go with the holographic instead, because then you don't really have to worry about that zoom in that the ACOG kind of has, but you also get the benefits of having the holographic, so it's kind of up to you. I'd say where it's possible, try to use the ACOG. If you don't like the ACOG that much and you'd rather stick the holo, there's nothing wrong with that, but if you have to use any sight besides the ACOG, definitely go with the holo. There are some guns, especially on defense, that don't have any ACOG option. Now, to go over the muzzle attachments quickly, this is all information from Rogue9's video that was posted a little less than a year ago. So do beware that some of this may have been adjusted, but this is the most updated information I could really find that was kind of hard coded into the game. Now, the muzzle brake reduces the recoil of the first shot by about 45%, along with a 45% reduction for the recentering time after shots. One of the biggest things I noticed the muzzle brake is the first, second, and third shot all landed pretty close to each other when you weren't controlling the recoil. The biggest thing to me is that I really do think that the muzzle brake is a fantastic option. Most of the time, you're going to see, as I go through this list that I have, DMRs really benefit from muzzle brakes in most semi-automatic weapons, but there are a couple automatic weapons that may be able to use a muzzle brake over, say, a comp or a flash hider. Now, to go on, the compensator is a weapon attachment that is able to reduce the recoil diamond, the random recoil diamond, by about 17.75%. Now, the problem that I noticed with the compensator is it actually, the second shot seems to shoot up a lot higher than the muzzle brake or the flash hider. So this is something that you do want to be aware of. I didn't realize this because I've been using compensator on most of my guns, that I didn't really see the benefit until I started going through my testing. If you want to see my testing, I'm going to upload it to my second channel. You can see the link down below. I'm not going to put the hour video on my actual channel because it's just way too long, but I know some people like to see that kind of stuff. So make sure you head over there. It will be in the comments down below also. Now, the next attachment you have is the suppressor. I believe that this is actually one of the most interesting attachments because it doesn't get used. There's not really a reason to use it. The problem is the damage reduction on it just takes away from all the benefits. But these are the benefits if this is something you're interested in. The missed bullets fired from a suppressed weapon do not trigger a threat indicator, nor will they create smoke trails. This is kind of useful, especially at a longer range. They can only be heard from up to 30 meters away. Again, most engagements are about 10 to 11 meters, so you're kinda 30 meters away is kinda too far for it to be really that useful for the sound dampening. The suppressor also hides the muzzle flash like a flash hider does. The suppressor, I'm not going to recommend the suppressor unless the gun already has it, so like the MP5 SD, that's up to you. I genuinely don't feel like the suppressor is going to help you with any gun at all. I can't think of a gun that would benefit from suppressor versus the other options that it might have. Next, we have the extended barrel. Now, the extended barrel keeps the damage drop off. All of the damage drop off distances are the exact same on all the guns from what I understand, but basically what it does is it reduces that damage drop off by about 15 to 20% at that range. So they'll all drop off, I think it's about 20 to 25 meters is when the drop off starts beginning, or even closer than that. But the extended barrel at that 20-25% meter, it will reduce the damage reduction that you would normally see by about 15 to 20% depending on the gun. Lastly, we have the flash hider. Now, the flash hider actually is going to be recommended on most of the guns that I give, again, based on the information that I was seeing in my testing. Now, it slightly reduces the vertical recoil, and it greatly reduces the horizontal recoil for the first 3 shots. Internally, the flash hider reduces the first shot recoil by about 37.5%, and the recentering time by about 30%, and the random recoil diamond, so that's what we talked about with the comp, by about 5%. Something you'll see, I'll show some video here, the flash hider seems to dramatically, and I mean dramatically, be a complete difference between the comp and the muzzle brake. It really is that middle ground, but I honestly feel like most of these guns are going to end up running flash hider in my loadout video. Now, to get on with the rest of this, the vertical and angled grip. The vertical grip is simply so that your gun doesn't shoot too high up. The vertical recoil isn't too much on the gun, and the angled grip is more so used for faster ADS times. Now, honestly, when you're thinking about what kind of grip you want to use, it really just depends, because if you're thinking about Ash, you're going to probably want an angle grip on her G36C if that's what you're using, because you're going to end up playing in a more aggressive operator by having that. When you're playing someone like Thermite, who's probably going to be getting the wall and probably holding an angle, you might want a vertical grip because you're going to already be ADS'd anyways, so you don't need to worry about that reduction or the detriment of using that angled grip. I don't really feel like his gun really has that much recoil anyway, so it's really up to you, but I would definitely play around with what you feel comfortable with in terms of the vertical and angled grip, but I'll give you my recommendations down below. Now, the last thing before we head on over to the loadouts is laser versus no laser. I like lasers on my guns, but I think that in terms of normal siege and comp siege, you really only want to use your lasers where you think it's necessary. And by necessary, I mean shotguns really benefit from it, and there are some guns, like Jackal's guns, that have very, very, very small hip fire when you use a laser. The problem is that I've noticed when I play is I have to consciously put my sight on a doorway rather than looking into the doorway because I don't want them to see my laser. So that has lost me a couple gunfights because I'm not already at head level right where I think someone's going to peek from. I have to sort of move my mouse over, move my aim over just a tiny bit, but that split-second decision can really be all the difference in a life or death situation in game. Now let's move on over to the loadouts. All right, so taking a look over here at the loadout, we actually have the new loadout screen that was given to us with Ember Rise. We're going to be taking a look at Capital first. Now, Capital was the most picked operator, I believe, on Pro League. We're going to take a look at his loadout. Now, The thing is, the M249 and the Para 308 are both very, very useful guns. And overall, I think that they both excel really exactly where you need them to. The first one we're going to take a look at is the Para, though. I would definitely go with an ACOG, definitely go with the muzzle brake, and obviously you want to go with the vertical grip. I don't think you're really going to be rushing in with him too often. Again, I'm running the laser sight just because I usually do anyways. But I think overall, a muzzle brake or a flash hider are the best options for the Para. This loadout overall, very strong loadout, very normal loadout also. I think that because you normally play a support on him, I would definitely just run the vertical grip. Don't worry about the angled grip. Now, taking a look over the M249, he did get the updated ACOG along with gridlock. I think personally, you don't need to pick any of these other sights. I would definitely just go with the ACOG scope that we have on it. Now, you only have a choice between a flash hider and a compensator. I would honestly go with the flash hider because I doubt you're going to be unloading an entire 200 round mag, and the flash hider just makes the shots a lot easier to hit. Obviously, laser sight is my choice, and I would definitely go with the vertical grip because you'd see that or no grip at all. Now, again, if you're going to be using a pistol, just use the muzzle brake. There is a suppressor on most pistols. Just use the muzzle brake. There's no reason for you to use the suppressor on a pistol, especially when it's going to be your last line of defense in case you run out of ammo on your primary. You have to switch over. Now, we're going to be taking a look over at Zofia next. Now, Zofia, actually, you can use her LMGE. I don't usually use her LMG. I don't really think it's that useful. I personally like using her assault rifle. I will usually run an ACOG with it, along with, I actually found that the muzzle brake had the most reasonable recoil out of all of them, along with, this is the one that I couldn't decide between. The vertical and angled grip is going to be, again, kind of how Ash has, you decide your style of play. You think you might be doing a little bit more rushing, definitely go with the angled grip. But if you think you might be able to hold angles down, definitely go with the vertical grip. I chose the vertical grip because I'm still getting used to her recoil on the gun. But overall, I think that it's a pretty manageable gun to get, especially with the muzzle brake or the flash hider. Now, the last attacker we're going to be taking a look at is Thermite. Now, you have the choice, the M1014. Don't use the shotgun. I can't even think of a single situation where it's more beneficial, especially because he only has 2 pistols. If he had a secondary SMG or secondary machine pistol, I could see maybe why you use a shotgun, but M1014 just doesn't do well at range, so definitely just go with the assault rifle. Now, the 5.56 XL, or XI, I believe, is a very strong weapon. I believe that you should definitely run the ACOG. The flash hider actually seemed to do the best in my testing, along with the vertical grip. Again, this gun doesn't really have that much recoil, so if you think you want to go more fragmite, definitely go with the angled grip. But I personally play a little bit more support with Thermite, so I choose the vertical grip every single time. Again, this gun, very strong gun. I don't think you're going to run into too many issues. You can take people down pretty quickly with it. So it just comes down to personal preference, but overall, I think that this is the loadout for this gun. Now, we're going to be switching over here to the defenders real quick. We have Mira. Now, Mira is very, very heavily used, obviously. Don't ever use her ITA-12L. You have the ITA-12S. You're going to be fine. I don't think that there's ever going to be an issue of that. But overall, I think the biggest thing you want to use is the compensator, the holographic, and the vertical grip. These 3 things combined will allow you to control her recoil a lot easier. I think she has a very hard recoil to control. She's really good at tap firing, but you're trying to spray someone down from a little bit far away, your gun might jump a tiny bit. Now, for her secondary, definitely go with the ITA-12S. This thing's going to allow you to make rotation holes to throw C4s through, open up sights, and that's, you don't ever want to use USP-40. Rarely do you ever have to switch to your secondary, and you really, really, really will probably end up getting a kill with the Vector before you'd get one with a USP-40 anyways. Now, Pulse and Castle both have the same primary, obviously, but this one's going to probably be a little bit more controversial just because I think it's an ugly looking weapon. I personally use the holographic, the extended barrel, and I normally use the angled grip. Now, you may ask why. Why do I have such an ugly loadout? Honestly, the reason why is because this gun has little to no recoil with this setup, let alone having a vertical grip and a compensator or flash hider. So it's easier to control. Your damage drop off is a lot farther or a lot more reduced with that extended barrel. And then having the angle grip allows you to take fights very quickly. Now, the pistols is really going to come down to your decision. I enjoy using the 5.7 just because the fire rate seems to be a little bit better than the 1911 or the M45 as they call it in the game. Some people may use the M1014 on pulse. I would say stray away from that, but there are some random people that it's more of a meme gun than it really is a real shotgun that you can be using in game just because he doesn't have a good secondary. Now, for the last defender, we're going to be taking a look over here at Jaeger. Now, obviously, Jaeger, one of the most highly played characters in the entire game. I found that holographic, compensator, and vertical grip were the way to go. I don't think the flash hider really helped on his gun too much. The problem is the flash hider, his gun already has a lot of recoil, especially after every single nerf and everything that they've put into his gun. So I think overall, the compensator is the way to go for his gun. Rarely do you see people use the M870 in a real match. Normally, it's more of a meme gun, so I definitely stray away from the M870. Obviously, P12, hit it with the muzzle brake. You might want to go laser sight. That's up to you personally. But I think overall that this loadout for Jaeger is going to be the strongest loadout you can have. Anyways, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video a lot. I hope you guys learned a lot. Make sure to look down in the comments below. I have timestamps as well as the rest of the loadouts I think are strong for each and every operator, or at least the guns in the game. But make sure to go check that out. It's going to be a really long comment. Sorry ahead of time, but I hope that all of this was very informational. Let me know if you have any questions down below, or if you want me to cover anything else in this topic or another topic. Anyways, guys, it's going to wrap things up for today. This is going to be Josh Snipes signing off.